Brothers and sisters, we praise Allah an abundant praise. Our Creator, Provider, and Sustainer has given us another day to experience this beautiful gift and this test that we will be held accountable for. So we seek to praise Him by seeking His guidance and by praying to Him and by looking at fellowship in righteousness and piety and uplifting His word everywhere we go. We ask Him to send His peace and blessings and mercy on His final messenger Muhammad and all of those who would follow him until the day of judgment. I am reminded of a very vivid verse at the end of Surah Ar-Rum. ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس ليذيقهم بعض الذي عملوا لعلهم يرجعون. He says, corruption has spread throughout the land and the sea due to people's evil ways. After tasting the consequences of their actions, perhaps they will repent. Perhaps they will turn back to their essence, their soul, their spiritual nature. And I wanted to highlight a few things because till now I don't think we're actually dealing with the first modern tech science experiment that we're in the middle of, that we are all guinea pigs of, and that is the cell phone. I mean, everybody here that's 40 plus knows that when you were in high school, nobody had a cell phone. You've never seen a cell phone. Nobody had something that they were constantly staring at that had their attention fully in it, this thing, right? We're in a science experiment. This is literally since 2008. This is 17 years since that existed. We're all going through that. So I wanted to highlight the next phase, because we've talked about that before. Hopefully we took some lessons. But the next phase is an MIT study, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, probably the top science school in the country. They recently did a study in which they gathered a bunch of people and they put them through 3 sessions of tests. The first group are using ChatGPT-5 for their ability to find and explain things in what they are tasked with. The next group is using a regular search engine like Google. And the next group has to look through books and reference and think through things on their own without any form of technology. So as the use of external resources increased, participants' cognitive engagement decreased, meaning the more you rely upon some machine to do intellectual tasks, in the process, in real time, your IQ is lowering. Your ability to think for yourself, to think critically, to be creative, all of that is diminishing. And that's just in a study that was done over a short period of time, much less dealing with years and decades. So those in the ChatGPT group exhibited the weakest neural capacity and connectivity at the end of the exercise. They found their linguistic processing, their creativity, their memory, and their executive functions were all decreased significantly. By contrast, the brain-only group, the people who have to think with their mind and use their own reflective and critical thought, they were increased. And as they used their brain, their IQ marks went up. The more they read, the more they reflected, the more they jotted down their ideas, they became smarter. So that's the first element that I'd like to get us all to reflect upon about what's happening to us as the cattle that we are in this capitalist governance of the world. The second point I'd like to highlight, which is no small matter either, the tech companies that are formulating AI, their own analysts are projecting that AI and automation will replace 30% of employment in the United States by 2030, 4 years. That's 55 million Americans will not have a job in 4 years. Just start to think through it. Don't ask ChatGPT, don't say, ChatGPT, what does that mean for me? Think through it. Think what will happen. And pay attention to the rest of the khutbah and see what's going on in front of your eyes. Third point, So now, because of this reliance on AI, data centers or digital hubs are growing fast. And this is raising serious concerns about the effect on the environment, health, human resources. Companies are pouring billions of dollars into data centers to support artificial intelligent models that promise to transform how everything works in the world. The electricity use is massive, and there are already multiple complaints across the country where people's electric bill went up 700% since 2022 when they started building these things. Who's fitting the bill? We are. It's just like here in North Carolina. We got comfortable with the oppression of Duke Energy. It is an oppressive, evil institution. I know some of you work there. You have to figure that out, okay? But unfortunately, it is a well-documented fact that back in 2013, their own company caused a massive multi-billion-ton coal ash spill that ruined the whole entire waterways and massively killed livestock and caused massive destruction. And you know what they did? They made a deal to raise all of our bills so that we would pay for it. They were only asked to pay for 20%. We paid 80%. But because we're so busy with work and whatever's in our social media and entertainment, we don't know we're being robbed, blind, by legal means, because corporations are lobbyists behind Congress who are state and house, and they are the ones deciding our fate. So, but also the water usage is massive of these data centers. All of the farmers are losing their mind. They're already from other methods losing their way. A single large data center in the West Coast uses 5 million gallons of water a day. That's the same amount of a town of 50,000 people uses, the data center, so that AI can make us stupid. It's very serious. We get caught up and we don't realize capitalism has proven itself a massively destructive enterprise of making money at the expense of human welfare. That's the summarization of this whole model. And so it's crucial for us to pay attention and think, what are we spending our free time talking about, and to whom are we talking to about it? Scientists at Caltech predict that the health costs related to the harm that these data centers are going to cause will be $50 billion. Maybe we can stop giving that to Israel and somehow use that. Oh, my mistake, 20 billion. This is the later part of the sermon. 20 billion, which still, these are astronomical numbers. So we have to think, where do we stand? With the advent of AI, the future is only going to be safe if there become people who are seeing themselves as maintaining and owning their integrity, as emotionally and intellectually literate people who read, who reflect, who relate to other people, who engage in creative and critical thought. They can explain themselves with logic. They can reference their evidences and convince people from what they know and what they can show. It's going to be a very powerful thing in 15 to 20 years to have your own physical book library, to have your own digital library that is not connected to a web that people can come, destroy, take, or whatever. To have your own referencing, because once they get it to where they want, it can manipulate everything and make everybody believe whatever it wants about history and now and the future. Brother, we record all of our sermons. Please don't record it. So we have to become people who are spiritual intellectuals. If you've been attending the sermons, we've been building up to this. We didn't want to hit you with it first. We wanted to show you Islam is calling you to be this. Andalus was that. Qurtuba was the center of that. It must be revived. If not, it's going to be a very, very terrible future right in front of us. So we have to be people who can build social capital based upon grounding of knowledge and understanding and proof and evidence, resources, referencing, caring about people and their well-being, and building coalitions on that. So what is AI? And how do we see it? AI is simply a reflection of our expression. That's all it is. Ar-Rahman allama al-Qur'an khalaqa al-insan allamahu al-bayan. The benevolent God, He gave the reference of His divine wisdom in this Holy Quran, the single most valuable reference that we have. He created the human being and uniquely distinguished the human being with sophisticated capacity of expression, language. Language is not just words, but words are powerful. It's body language, it's sign language, it's writing, it's many things. But we were blessed and made unique among creation with the ability to express ourselves in a sophisticated manner. So what is AI? It's simply us putting our thoughts into a machine. That's all AI is. That's the fundamental reality of what it is. Language shapes our understanding. It is proven very well, and anybody who thinks about it, that what people say, how often they say it, when they say what they say, how they say what they say, changes people's whole entire reality. So for example, why do so many people still support this genocidal terrorist state? Because they have been programming through language in so many different ways and means to get people to support it. And that's just a group of people who are planning a marketing strategy to get away with their nefarious plot of supremacy. But imagine a super sophisticated machine who we've pushed to become more sophisticated than those people, who they don't have morals, and this one definitely doesn't have morals. AI does not think. Stop saying that. It doesn't. It computes. And it will never think. It will always compute. Pay attention to how we're talking about it. And they're talking about it in a way so we'll accept it as our leaders and our advisors and our mentors. They're doing that on purpose. They're infusing language. It's a machine that looks at ones and zeros, period. It will never be more than that. It's how we programmed it. And so it doesn't feel, it doesn't understand morality other than what we have told it. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Inna min al-bayani la-sihra." Truly, from expression can be magic, can make things seem like they are other than what they really are, and people will be convinced of it. So by using human-like terms such as training, learning, and thinking to describe AI, we are leading ourselves to believe that it is more human-like and capable of being human, when it is not, and never will be, not even close. Actually, right now, it's all a marketing campaign to make money, as is capitalism. Capitalism will lie and lie and lie. If you'll buy the stuff, they'll tell you stories. Most of what they're calling AI right now is just simply efficient automation. That's all it is. It's not using its own programming and deciding things. ChatGPT and those things, that's the beginning of what real AI is. But most of all the stuff they're telling you is just simply automated systems that are moving faster than we can to figure out stuff. Right? But they're telling everybody, AI this, AI that, yeah. Why are they doing that? Because they want everybody to believe that that has to be the future, that AI runs everything. And the question is, what do we become in that world? There was a movie called The Matrix. You should pay attention. So AI, regardless of what it does or how efficient or how intelligent we make it, it is simply a creation and reflection of the current state of humanity. Everything AI knows and has been programmed with is how we are. It knows all about how we operate as a people. And when it believes itself having authority, just look how the authority of all of the countries operates. That's the example that AI has. Is it getting scary yet? So it's important for us to see that the modern world is ruled by people who believe that the ultimate greatness and purpose of life is amassing as much wealth as you can at the expense of all the people who work for you and everybody else in the world. If they can't make as much money, too bad. If you can make so much money you'll never need it ever in 20 lifetimes, too bad for them. They don't care. And that is the authorities. And that is what power looks like. So if you create generative intelligence or super intelligence, it's going to mimic the power it learned from. So these people have improved life in many ways, made life easier, made some solutions. But at the core of the rulers of the world, the value of life, human, animals, the air, is very little concern for that. It's all about how much money we can amass. That's where the status comes from. It's no longer about the house of so-and-so, the king and queen of so-and-so. Now it's about where do you stand on that list of the billionaires. And so they've engineered a morally depraved world that is highly propagandized to believe falsehood. A lot of us in this room are very certain about things that are simply false. And it's because that's the system they made. So our immediate concern as human beings is to use this system and to control it as for our needs. Assistive technology. AT. That's what it should be. Because what these people are doing and what they are talking about is to use it for a tyranny, corruption, oppression, and absolute control. They're saying it. If you pay attention, World Economic Forum, this summit, that summit, they're saying it openly, that nobody can be trusted, so we need to watch everything every one of you do and keep control over it. They're saying that to prevent harm. Everything came after 9/11 was to prevent harm. Now, if you study 9/11, you'll see that was the beginning of all of this. That was the justification for this whole entire dominoes. So it's crucial that we reflect and take a look at where we stand and what we do with our lives, because our children will live beyond our time. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه فإنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Please come forward so people can find their way in, inshallah. So what are we actually looking at? So we said 30% of the workforce of the United States within 4 years will be replaced by these automation and AI stuff. 55 million people. Manufacturing jobs, data entry, analysis, administrative, clerical, customer service, retail, cashiers, tellers, computer programmers, mathematicians, computer programmers, even computer engineers. أعوذ بك من العجز والكسل. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to seek refuge from weakness and laziness. We are cultivating something that will make us even more than we've already got. A lot of people complain about Gen Z. The phone is what led to this. The phone caused this massive, I've talked to many people, and because of the phone makes you, that's my power structure. This is my identity. I'm in here. This is my stuff. This is where, the I is very strong with the phone. Without the phone, you have to deal with we. You have to deal with people, engage. You have to go out, get active, have fun, play around, right? So I'm hearing that many people are not getting hired because they tried so many times, and these people are not able to do anything with other people. And so the only thing they would succeed at is things they're doing by themselves according to their own comfort zone, because they are kind of entitled through this very, lazy thing. And it's not their fault. Nobody's blaming people from Gen Z. It's humanity's fault. We created this thing. The goal was not, okay, let's see phones, let's see how we do this and what we do and make sure we protect the best interests of our kids. No, they said, let's see if we can get kids completely hooked on this thing so we can make billions. That's what they said and did. وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, working righteousness. So many jobs are going to be lost. So ex-Google CEO Eric Schmidt, he wrote a book with Henry Kissinger. This is a very weird thing. You should look at it. Henry Kissinger just died. He's an evil Zionist who was the architect of the Vietnam War. He was the architect of the Iraq War. He was part of the empowering Israel through here, lifetime Zionist within the infrastructure of the United States government and foreign policy. He's not a tech guy, but he wrote a book with one of the previous CEOs of Google, which is all about AI, and it was published in 2022. And in that book, they actually say, in the world, it will come to be two classes of people. It will be those who control AI, and AI supports their best interests. And then there will be, if you've seen like the Hunger Games, all of the districts doing their work. The peasants. Everybody will be ignorant. They won't be able to think for themselves. They won't know how to do anything. They'll just be labor. Like whatever things that, we can't get a robot to do or whatever, they'll do that. Digital ID and its precursors. Pay attention. This thing where you have to sign, accept conditions, otherwise you can't do it. This thing where you have to give your email. This is the beginning of digital ID. They're training us. We have to opt out of all of that stuff. We have to push back. They're putting it to a situation where the tyranny of metadata is used for political control, and the people who are now given the contract with our taxes, Palantir, are saying that they're going to do pre-crime. Minority Report, they're saying this. We will be able to tell when you're about to do a crime so we can arrest you before you do it. So unlike a physical driver's license or a passport, the digital ID exists online in databases or apps that are monitored, updated, and restricted by outside authorities, like the government or hackers. So the government can decide nothing about you, your social media accounts, your wealth, your access to anything, we're locking that down now. There will be no need for prisons anymore. You just simply cut them off. Take that digital ID and press the button. They're done. They've already done it in Vietnam. 80 million people in Vietnam tried to opt out, and they completely blocked their access to their bank account, showing them, you have to opt in because we already have control over your money in the banks. The banks are part of a central banking system. Go back to 1913, the Federal Reserve. Go back to Richard Nixon, 1971, when they got rid of gold, and it became about a system that's controlled. They've already done that. Technically, your money is part of a government process in a bank, in a public bank, not in a local credit union. You see the transformation we need to start to do. The local credit unions are different. Those are people. That's a co-op. It's a very Islamic model, actually, when you think about it. So digital ID, what does it look to do? Peter Thiel and Larry Ellison, two people who now are president, have given multi-billion-dollar contracts to take over all the media, multiple military applications, multiple health applications, IRS, all of that. They've given it to them. So what are they saying that they're going to do? They're going to prevent corruption and evil by creating a centralized government-wide surveillance system that will consolidate biometric, behavioral, and geolocation data into a single database. They're saying this. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is them talking on the stage about their great achievement and what now Trump is letting them do. So we have to be very careful. Now, of course, these are all the immediate things. These are all things happening right in front of our face right now. But the worst case scenario, which the founder, the godfather of AI and others are telling us, is the whole AGI, ASI, independent agency. If we are able to program something that becomes completely independent, generative, general intelligence, super intelligence, where they become smarter than all of us. And they're saying, are you ready for this? 5 to 10 years, it'll be there. Now, this thing is not like a nuclear bomb where you can control who presses the button. That thing becomes only a danger when the wrong person has the button. Generative AI and all that is very dangerous because right now with just ChatGPT-4 and others, they've already seen that when they tell it, and they've even done experiments, that we're going to decommission you, it creates new languages, it starts to back itself up in a different place, and it starts to create deceptive language. It goes through emails, and it talks about how you did this, and I can spread this information about you. Blackmailing. That's happening already. And that's with something that's not even near what they're talking about. So we have to maintain our authority. It's assistive technology. It assists us where we need it, and we do it based upon moral reasoning. That it's just simply adding value and facilitating something that would just be a hassle. Not doing everything for us and being the control of everything in our life. That needs to completely go away. Allah said, وَسَخَّرَ لَكُم مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. We're talking about relinquishing that intentionally. He subjected to your control and for your well-being everything around you in the world. That's why we're able to have this room and talk in this way with the air conditioner running, with this computer notes in front of me. It's because he gave us these means to use everything around for our best interest to serve us. With قَالَ رَبُّكَ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. He said, told the angels, I'm making a person of authority on the earth. Why? Because we have knowledge. عَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. If we relinquish our knowledge and give it to something that we make that is not us, and then we empower it to have means and authority that we don't have, it is the dumbest, most foolish idea. But because the idea, how capitalism works is, well, somebody's going to do it, and so we have to be the one to do it. And the guy who's at the front lines of this, Sam Altman, his former partner, Ilya, the big bearded guy, he said, I left because, as many will tell you, while Sam's a good speaker in front of the Congress and everything else, he's not concerned about safety, and success is his most important concern, to win. Win what? Make money and be the guy who did it. That's all they care about. They don't care about morals and safety and logic and reason and ethics and all that. That is not anywhere near the billionaire class. They don't think about any of that. They say that kind of stuff as part of their strategy and campaign, but their actions speak louder than their words. So we have to be effective in setting these guardrails, because what are we looking at? They've already said biased algorithms. They're already making mistakes. I've seen AI make mistakes multiple times. I went to Kuwait, the brother's telling me, okay, I'm going to reprogram this thing and give a better presentation, and he put it in there, and then I noticed that they put together some stuff that wasn't even in the original presentation. And he was like, oh, this is a hallucination. And I was like, we don't rely on people who hallucinate in the real world. But it's this illusion that we've created, the AI. And that's all the marketing strategy. They want you to think like that so you'll accept your servitude. When really it's just some people programming something that may or may not actually become what they think it will be. But as long as you believe it, they can program it to say whatever makes them have the authority they're looking for and the power and the wealth they're looking for. Privacy violations, data misuse, malicious use, cyber attacks, spread of disinformation, deep fakes, where it takes my voice, makes me say and do something that I never did in an event, say all kinds of things. All of that stuff can happen. Intellectual decline, scams, cloned voices and images, automating social media manipulation. So the summary here is this. Why is it that they're trying to make Islam the big problem? When before 9/11, I became Muslim in 1998. Nobody was worried that I became Muslim at all. There's 50 some odd Muslim countries. There's a few million Muslims here in America. Muslims been around all over the place. Nobody was thinking Islam equals violence. Even though it's been around all over the place for 1,400 years since the Prophet ﷺ brought the last revelation. I'll tell you why. Because the fundamental difference between Islam and the modern socio-economic system of governments is that in the divine law, as the consensus of Muslim scholars understand, is about promoting, first and foremost, the well-being of the individual, the family, and the society. And that takes precedence over anything else, especially profit, and the regulation of who's in charge and by what reason can they make a rule or law goes back to God and His message. People have no authority in and of themselves to make laws. We seek to uplift and preserve the welfare of people spiritually, mentally, physically, economically, as individuals and as families. So my immediate concern here, brothers and sisters, is our minds. The phone's already doing it. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. Read in the name of your Lord who created everything. Created the human being from just this little clinging thing. Read. Iqra. Read. And your Lord is most generous. Meaning, if you want to get the most out of life, read. Now ask yourselves, when's the last time you read a book? They know this. The more people read and reflect and have intellectualized experience with others, it's hard to control people like that. They need to dumb us down. Alhaakum at-takathur. You're all being distracted by people trying to amass a lot of wealth. That's literally what this verse means. Alhaakum at-takathur. You are being distracted. You are being deviated from your actual purpose and the value you represent as Allah created you by those that seek to gain lots of wealth. It doesn't say it has to be your seeking a lot of wealth. That is part of it. It's anyone. At-takathur. Seeking lots of wealth to increase wealth exponentially deviates you because it takes you from spiritual to material. These are opposite. The idea about what I have, how I look, how hot, my makeup, my this, my muscles, this, my car, all of that is shayateen. What matters is what you know and how you treat people and what you do for the world. That's what matters most to everyone. And that's why the Prophet said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَنْظُرُ إِلَى أَمْوَالِكُمْ وَأَجْسَادِكُمْ إِنَّمَا يَنْظُرُ إِلَى قُلُوبِكُمْ وَأَعْمَالِكُمْ. God is not looking at your appearance and your face and your body and your wealth. He's looking at your hearts, your intentions, your character, your manners, and what you do for the world. That's your value that on the Day of Judgment will be weighed. فَمَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. If you want to be wealthy and rich and successful, that's your focus. But how are we thinking? How are we living? How have we been trained? What are we doing while claiming to be Muslims, while claiming to follow this Quran, while claiming to follow the example of this Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Look at the contradiction. If you can convince people to believe about themselves something that they clearly are not, and then you make them to be the way they want you want them to be, it's a very clever form of enslavement. Because nobody wants to be forced into being a slave because I made you and told you. You will reject and fight me all day. But if I can convince you by raising you up and teaching you and putting circumstances and educations and opportunities and ideas all around you that make you my slave, even though you think you're you and whatever you believe, even though it doesn't match up with what you are saying, that's the thing we're dealing with right now. So there's a massive data center. They're trying to bring it in West Charlotte. And my mind almost exploded. I almost had a stroke when I saw an African American person advocating for the jobs that they're going to bring us. This data center in West Charlotte is 156 acres for a 3 million square foot data center. this thing is going to cause a massive destruction and reverberation for a long time to come. And they're saying right now, they change all the time. You know, like Trump, the ceasefire. This is what it is. It's the same. It's not just one simple example we all know. They're, oh no, Duke, and they'll take, they're going to take care of it. They have no intention. We are going to fit the bill. The people of West Charlotte are going to continue to be oppressed and abused and humiliated. And yeah, some of them will be workers. They will go in there like coal miners. Now they're data miners. You see the point? But they're convincing them, we're going to bring you jobs and make you money. Because of the oppression they faced for centuries, they're happy to have something, even though it's going to be oppressing us, even though it's going to be against our best interests. And city council people and county commission people are acting like this is all normal. They are. They're approving it. Because why? Because the city, Democrat and Republican, across the whole country, it's about money. It's the same thing. This one tokenizes your identity. This one wants you to feel like you're a nationalist Christian and a conservative. And they bring these ideas that make you feel like, oh, they're with us. And then you have to ask yourself, what did they do for you? Obama came in, he had all the House and the Senate and everything. What did he do? He gave all of our money to those people who just ruined our whole economy. Then he started to bomb indiscriminately sovereign nations against all international law. That's what that dude did. And yet many people still think he's some sort of savior and some sort of victory because he represents a way to make everybody, oh, a guy with this color of skin has happened to have become the same type of ruler as all the rest of them since Nixon. I guess Carter's a little bit different. So this is where we have to think for ourselves and be very careful about how we're being programmed. It's not conspiracy theory. Everything here is solid fact. So Ya Allah, we ask you to protect us and preserve us, strengthen us, empower us. We ask you to make us spiritual intellectuals, people who will carry this message, people who will stand up in the face of tyranny, people who will educate and be educated and create an environment of social welfare in which people care about each other because we're neighbors and we look after each other's best interests, that we do not get distracted by wealth or by political parties and other foolish nonsense. Ya Allah, we ask your forgiveness and your mercy. We ask you to make us worthy of your contentment, that we may be in your grace for eternity. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.